Welcome to the Healer's Corner podcast with your hosts, Melissa Wiles and Maria Cerna.
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Anyone that's in the snowy weather, I hope you guys are keeping warm. And anyone that doesn't have snowy weather, I wish I was there with you.
This is January was rough as far as snow. February, I'm already over it as far as ready for the sunshine.
But we're gonna get started. We're gonna talk about sexual healing and magic.
Yes.
So this is the energy part of it. I would know about it, but as far as sexual healing and magic is something more of Alexa's um, knowledge.
My bread and butter.
Yeah, bread and butter and everything else. And I'm really excited on this show because this is really getting into more of the woo-woo part of it.
Yes. And that's the part where I'm very, very comfortable playing in that space, as well as talking about sex and sexuality and sexual health and things like that. I think those are really important topics that do not get enough valid screen time, talk time, research time to actually have candid quality conversations about these topics, even though it's a topic that affects everyone. So I look at sex and sexuality and sexual healing as it's a health topic. It should be talked about. It's no different than like drinking enough water and moving your body and eating well.
Well, it's part of our structure, it's still a part of the energy spectrum and
Mhm.
it's part of our energy DNA. So it should be part of the wellness, basically, and self-care, as well as caring for your relationships and the energy dynamics of your relationship. And
Mhm.
that's how I see it in the energy aspect of it.
When it's even your own energetic relationship to yourself and
Hmm.
how you show up for yourself then translates to how you are energetically able to kind of manifest and pull in the people around you that should be around you. Um, it's 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 not again, it's not a topic that gets enough lead time. I'm also really tickled at that I've been seeing a lot more lately of the LGBTQIA plus and like queer community um, publishing books about magic and non-binary things like that because it's allowing us to kind of stake a claim in the corner of sex and sexuality and sexual healing without limiting it to a binary of
Hmm.
just masculine feminine, you are one or the other. So I'm happy that this is the day and age I get to be a practitioner in, because I really feel like I've got a full set of playground toys I get to like utilize here in my day-to-day practice to be able to help clients and work with people.
Well, what's really interesting for me is when I really got into the aspect of past life, because I do see threads in the people's energy field of their past life. And just because you are a male or a female in this life does not mean in your other past life, if you believe in past life reincarnation, does not mean that you always have been a male or a female in the past
Mhm.
life. So I thought I was like, wow, this is really interesting. It's
Well,
just
like,
energy. It literally comes down to energy. Yeah.
that's all it is, and even from a physics standpoint, because I still enjoy reading, like, physics books and quantum theories and things like that just because I think that stuff's fascinating. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can
Hmm.
be moved, it can be transformed, it can shift, but it cannot ever be destroyed. So when you, as an energetic being with all of the cells and molecules in your body constantly vibrating and shifting in this beautiful, like, messy collage that is you, the impacts that you're having on people, the impacts you're having on your environment, and then the impact you have when you finally cease to be in this realm, that energetic echo is pretty big. And that's what whenever we talk about past lives, I've always thought about it as that way. This is an energetic echo of me that was strong enough that I'm still feeling the ripple.
Hmm.
And yeah, like you said, energy doesn't really have a gender or an identity. Energy just is energy, and the way it manifests in everyone's life is a little bit different. And I think it would be really fascinating to be able to like work with someone who is dealing with energetic healing issues from a past life, but from a completely different like gender perspective than themselves. I imagine that would be a very complicated case to get them
It,
held through.
yeah, it's actually a complication because I have come across some clients who have gone through a regression, doesn't understand everything that's going on in their life, and then once I said, "Do you realize that you were he in this life?" And I've had clients who just like, "Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense."
Hmm.
It just makes sense. And because we are in a society where it's just male or female. Yeah, well, that's the exterior. That
Hmm.
has the We are so multidimensional that just the physical aspect is just the exterior.
Yeah. And I
And
like,
then when you take it in the component of an energy, it was like, wow,
mhm,
wow.
that you're
Yeah,
feeling
it's
that wound energetically. I mean, it's no different than feeling energetic wounds from your inner child. You're no longer a
mm,
child. You're an adult now, but
mm,
you are still living with the energetic consequences of other actions and other circumstances. Um, and I think that's kind of at the crux of what um, sexual healing can be for somebody. It boils down to the energy of self, and it's
mhm,
your relationship with just you. Because we talk about all these different like aspects of magic and woo woo and power and source and all these things, and whatever you choose to call it, it all boils down to the recognition that the point of a lot of practitioners is magic is the way that we take control in a way that matters to us. We are
mhm,
able to consciously affect change in the world around us, be it manifesting, be it banishing, be it um, growth cycles, reincarnation. Magic is a conscious choice, in my opinion.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
sexual healing is just kind of like a step from that as well, that you have decided that not only am I going to take control and take autonomy back for parts of myself that need healed and worked on and cared for, but I'm going to do it in a way that I only have access to, because it's a very personal journey. It's a very like intimate and individualized journey that people have to go on when you realize that there's things in a sexual sphere or a sexual nature that are still affecting you today and that you still want to work through in some capacity to be able to kind of go forward as a healthier person in that regard. um, so it becomes a tool, and I like that we get to talk about more tools for the theoretical toolbox of the magic users out there.
Could you elaborate on some of the tools in the magical toolbox that we have? Before we do that, just give the audience a brief, because I know we did this last week in our talk, but a brief what sexual healing is and what are some of the things that is like a maybe something that you say, okay, something is off, I need to get balance.
Hmm. So so sexual healing is definitely a part of anyone's healing journey. um, I always like to remind people we are not here to tell you to like, here's how you fix yourself. um, Go to therapy, please, for the love of yourself. Take care of yourself. Um, but sexual healing becomes healing that the person and the practitioner solely has in their control, because it is utilizing and it is tapping into your own body's energy flow, your own body's response to the world at large. It's an extremely personal and intimate understanding of how you respond to certain sensations and stimuli and people and interactions, and how all of those complex things through the lens of sexual expression and sexuality really give you that kind of more in-depth understanding of you as a whole person. There have been aspects with sexual healing and with sexual education where things that I have learned in a very, I would say, hedonistic, almost X-rated scenario, I've been able to distill lessons and apply to my vanilla life. And it's that distillation, it's recognizing that this is a pathway you can use for yourself to really get kind of back to your own pathway, your own kind of energetic relation. Because it's not, sexual healing is not something someone can give you. It's not like a spell or a working. I mean, of course you can have workings where you go with someone and they can do certain things to help you along the way, but ultimately it's a journey of self. It's something you have to do. And you can do it with people and you can have people kind of lend hands along the way. But it's something that you ultimately have to do for you. It's not a gift. So much as it's a prize, definitely worth working for.
For yourself, basically.
Yeah. And there's a lot of
Mm.
there's a lot of stigma around sex and sexual healing, and especially with the modern day media representations of what sex can be used for in the worst ways, what it can be used for in ways to actually harm people. Um, we've been surrounded by a society, even from like a religious standpoint, that views sex and sexual expression as this big taboo, scary thing that, oh no, we don't talk about that, we don't touch that, we don't. But it's such a universal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in that universal experience that you have to recognize that the things that I'm doing and the things that I'm feeling that feel good to me are just as natural as my lungs inflating and deflating. It's just as natural as my stomach grumbling and saying, hey, I'm hungry, feed me.
Mm-hmm.
We've stigmatized sex to the point, and sexual healing to the point, that if you are not on either end, and we're back to a spectrum, if you're not on either end of the purity spectrum, where you're completely celibate and you're promising your sexuality to someone out, versus you are an absolute slut and you are without morals because of how much you engage in this activity, we get lost in the fact that ultimately, at the end of the day, sex is really nobody's business but your own and the people you choose to do it with. But it's a tool. It's, like I said, it's a lens with which you can approach yourself and start healing certain wounds in yourself or certain aspects of yourself. And you can do it in a very impactful and gentle way. I know one of the questions that you had talked about prior to this we talked about ego a little bit. And I know we talked about ego
Mm-hmm.
last week too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was trying to think of, like, if I was going to define ego and why your ego has to be completely removed, especially with any healing you're going to do. I was doing some kind of like mind mapping here, and I thought that I think the best gateway to any sort of healing, but especially with sexual healing, because it is a deeply personal and intimate topic, you have to remove your ego. And what that ego means is your ego is your perception of how you should and shouldn't act in a given situation. It
Mm-hmm.
is your preconceived measurement of, oh, I should be doing this. I should look like this. I should sound like this. Or taking it a step further, you're thinking about, oh, how do I look and seem through someone else's eyes? How is someone perceiving me? So if I was also the voyeuristic and looking at myself while I was doing this, let me judge and measure myself to see where I'm standing. That's ego. That's your ego talking. That has to be politely
Okay.
asked to go sit down. Because with sexual healing and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's your ego does not have enough room in the space with you to actually be beneficial at that point. So ego and shame, in my opinion, run hand in hand with each other, especially with sexual healing.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And somewhere along the line, I know the ego serves a purpose when we were younger, because it helped us to maneuver into this world.
Mhm,
And our parents or our first teacher, I would call them, could not be with us. And they may not be the best teachers also. So we had talked about that. But somewhere along the line, it needs to take a step back and your spirit needs to shine through.
mhm. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
deeply personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's gobs of resources out there, and I love that. But
Mm-hmm.
it is something that has to be a choice for you making for you. That's the other thing. I want to also be mindful of as we talk about this topic is that of course we want to better ourselves for the benefit of our loved ones, our family, you know, children, partners, whatever. You should never endeavor on any sort of healing journey because somebody's told you you need to fix that for yourself for my sake.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm-mm.
we see that so often, especially in the realm of sex and sex coupling and things like that. There's almost this, I cannot tell you how many clients I have read for that at some point in time are able to finally admit to me, well, I came because this is a thing I'm having and this is a problem that I think I'm having. Well, my partner, well, my significant other was saying this. And come to find out that it's the significant other's judgment and influence that's telling them, oh, this is wrong of you, or this is broken on you, or needs working on you. And it's that displeasure of another person that suddenly this person now goes, oh, well, I have to fix myself because I want to be better for my partner. Well, yeah, but that's not an action motivated by betterment of self. That's an activation motivated because you're trying to please someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
sexual healing
I
is completely the opposite. It's about pleasing just yourself.
yes. Yes, getting to know you as a being,
Mhm.
as with that sexual energy, and really embracing it. That's how I see this. Now you're stripping away all the labels and the judgment from others. And I know it's pretty hard when you're around family members,
Right.
but you got to get to a point where, okay, and who am I doing this for? Is it for me
Mhm.
or is it for so and so?
Yeah.
you know and if it's for so and so, that is not like anything. That is not, if a family member were to tell you you need to jump into the lake even though you don't know how to swim, are you going to jump in the lake? Of course not. So
Mhm.
it's the same thing with any kind of healing, and sexual healing is something that like you said earlier, is a gift to yourself.
Yes. And it has to be something that you do for yourself, and it's inherently selfish. And I wanted to talk about the word selfish because selfish as a word has such a stigma around it. We
Mm-hmm.
automatically assume selfish means bad. Selfish does not mean bad. Selfish is just a word that describes an act for the self. And sexual healing is inherently selfish. It's an act for the self. You're doing this for yourself. You're discovering your boundaries, your limits, your expectations, your capacity for joy, sensation, and pleasure just for you, not for the benefit of anybody else or not for the lens of anybody else, but just for you. And a lot of people struggle to take that kind of selfish jump over for themselves because we're conditioned to constantly be giving parts of ourselves out to other people and constantly
Mm-hmm.
be putting ourselves at service of other people, which is a beautiful thing. Like I actually like me reading cards, I'm putting myself at the service of my clients. Absolutely. Um, but you have to make a choice to do things just for you selfishly. And I've discovered so many people struggle to make that shift because they feel like, well, I'm a bad person if I choose. I'm like, well, you're not a bad person because you chose yourself. You just chose yourself because
Hmm.
you deserved that.
Yeah. I always tell my clients that, you need to fill up your cup,
Hmm.
because if you don't fill up your cup and you're not in a place of joy and happiness, how can you help anyone else that you love, that you love? How can you help your loved ones? You have
Absolutely.
to be in that place. Yeah. And the only way you can get there is sexual healing is one of them, and any kind of self-love care is what I call it. Self-love
Hmm.
care where sexual healing comes into play also. Yes.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And it's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah.
Like I've got like a smearing of notes here in front of me that are somewhat organized. I've got the crazy lady organization. Um, but let's start with some bigger questions or bigger topics so we can kind of start breaking into here a little bit.
Okay. How about the practices of sexual healing that works into the magical aspect of it?
So the actual practices of, and I liked, like I said, I mentioned earlier that I like the fact that there's a lot of resources around this topic now because it makes it
Hmm.
easier for you as a practitioner. I'm saying the royal you, um, as a practitioner, to find what methodology and what kind of approach specifically works for you. And you have to give yourself permission as a practitioner to read gobs and gobs of different resources and distill out which parts will work specifically for you because that's your journey. Um, but the actual like practices of, I have a lot of people that um, I've done readings with where they just need permission, and it's permission for very silly things almost. It's permission to, like, yes, you are allowed to explore this part of yourself. Yes, you are allowed to explore this part of your body. You are allowed to dabble a little bit in this specific realm of energy work or tap this resource in yourself a little bit and experience a little bit more. Um, so once you can get kind of shame out of the way of it, you can kind of find some really amazing ways where sexual magic and sexual energy can be used to do a myriad of different things, not just the act of procreation and coupling, which is great. We love that. That's fine. But
Hmm. Hmm.
sexual magic does not necessarily mean I have to be having sex. That's not, those are not, those don't equal each other. Um,
No.
the practice of it, though, it can start so simple, it can start so small. A lot of times I recommend with people, um, when's the last time you actually like gave yourself a full body massage? Like hands on lotion, hands on body. When's the last time you physically touched every inch of skin on your body? Because it's your body. It's, you have the right to touch every single part of yourself. You have a right to feel those sensations. And that little act of autonomy over our own bodies, over our own selves, and being conscious of the fact that, oh yeah, I can do this to me. This is safe touch. This is good touch. That even of itself is an aspect of letting sexual energy start to flow through you. Because again, you've made the conscious choice to do it to yourself.
Hmm.
Um, I know we talked a lot about the concept of almost like dating yourself last week was a big one. Uh,
Hmm.
you have to like yourself. You have to enjoy yourself. And in order to do that, you have to get to know yourself. And that's hard to do for a lot of people. I usually recommend, like I said, the gentle touching is usually a really great start for a lot of people because it's an easily accessible aspect of it. Um, writing, painting, drawing, um, those types of creative expression can channel a lot of that sexual energy, especially when you give yourself permission to do it in a fantasy way or do it in a way that is sexual in nature in that regard. Um, I have one friend who, when we were talking about this, she took that and she went home and she got like kid safe, like paint that like you use in the bathtub. She got a paintbrush and she painted all over herself because she wanted to feel the sensation of I'm a canvas, I'm an artistic canvas for my expression. And she, drew symbols and drew words all over herself. And it was this amazing moment for her to realize that, oh, I'm not only capable of this, I'm allowed to do this. And that level of reconnection with the physical body from that energetic standpoint is important. A lot of times you use sexual energy with creative endeavors. There's a lot of times I've met
Mhm.
with people where if they're feeling kind of creatively blocked, if they're feeling kind of like, oh, things feel stagnant, I'm not, I'm stuck, I've got writer's block, or, nothing feels good about the canvas. There's avenues with which you can tap into that sexual energy for yourself through physical touch, physical massage, through um, writing letters, self love, um, all these different aspects of sex can be used by yourself. You don't have to have a partner, um,
Mhm.
to re-release that energy back out and to kind of get that energetic flow back out and open. So creative endeavors are inherently sexual, in my opinion, because the act of the act of sex, biologically speaking, is for procreation. We do it now for fun
Mhm.
and because it feels good,
Mhm.
which again, we love that. But it is
Mhm.
inherently meant for creation of some kind. We now have the ability, though, to take the act of sex and sexuality and things like that and still use that creative force and that drive to create something new. And it can express itself in art, music, poetry, dance, fashion, all these different aspects of creation trace themselves back in a root to sexual energy in people.
What's really interesting is when I started on the journey of energy healing, the sacral, which is our sex chakra, basically.
Mhm,
I've noticed that whenever I scan the energy of a person, and if that is depleted,
mhm,
I start, I start doing the cleansing, and I start doing what I need to do. And then once I'm done, and I say, have you had problems with not being able to think straight, or a, a thought is not, it's all kind of scattered, it's not clear, or
mhm,
if you're trying to write down something, write a book, or write a letter, and it's like it's not flowing.
mhm.
And 9 out of 10 times, they would say yes. And I said, so that's when I noticed that the sacral chakra is kind of depleted.
Mhm.
There's not enough energy in there. It's like
Yes.
every chakra spins. We all have it's like a thumbprint. It's like an energy field. It's all unique to everyone. And there's a certain ratio that it spins. So when it's not spinning right, I notice it's depleted. When I know that it's completely bulging, I know that the energy is not flowing. There is a congestion somewhere. There's a blockage. So I have to go there and clean. But it's really interesting that when I notice that, it's like someone doesn't have a clear thought. Someone has been trying, like if they were an author, or if they're a painter, or if they are a designer, and it's not coming clear
Mhm.
because the energy is unbalanced in that area of that chakra. It's really interesting. And I was like, wow, this is cool, because
I like that you said
that is our creative chakra. We do create, and it's not just procreation. It's creating. It's a chef coming out with a totally different type of menu,
yes.
or a totally different type of entree. It's a person who's painting and coming up with a whole different type of concept.
Mhm.
It's really, really interesting.
And I love that you use the word depletion because that is such an accurate depiction of if you think about your pelvic bowl, and when I say pelvic bowl, I mean if we look at our skeleton,
Hmm.
our hip and where our lovely thigh bones come up and attach, that pelvic bowl is a bone that we all have. If we think about
Hmm.
that bowl as a reservoir, this is where I keep that creative energy, or this is where I'm able to pour energy in and then easily dump it back out. I have, you're exactly right. You meet people where that's an empty spot in them. They don't have any inflow to that area. They don't have any movement in that area. It becomes stagnant. It becomes almost like if you shut a door in a room in your house and then just don't open that door for months and months and months at a time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Open that door back in, like, yeah, the stuff still roughly looks the same. There might be some cobwebs here and there, but like the air feels stale and stagnant.
Mhm. Mhm.
And ways to kind of tap into and release some of that energy, which also kind of ties into the fact, like, if, like you said, if there's blockages, if there's bulges, if there's ways that that's not flowing through them, or you get people almost like their pelvic bowl's so full, but they don't have the ability to tilt it out and let it all escape and get it out
Mhm.
some. Um, those are aspects with which I use the cup analogy a lot because we've all heard um like the cup idea of like, oh, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup first. Your pelvic bowl is that cup. You have to fill your bowl first. Your bowl has to be full. Your bowl has to have a good flow coming in and out of it. You have to be able to know when to kind of tilt it up and keep it for yourself and when not to share that type of energy with someone and when to be able to kind of pour it out. And having
Mhm.
that within yourself and being able to know when I can offer somebody or, the universal offer, when you can offer somebody, love and acceptance and physical touch or um, intimacy in that regard versus when there are situations where you shouldn't be offering that type of energy to someone or that type of energy is being weaponized or used against you. Um, all of those
Mhm.
aspects affect how someone's energy flows through their body and whether or not it can actually escape and get out. Um, and I like that you mentioned that, like the chakras, because I know that inevitably with sexual healing, you always run across like, oh, like the Kama Sutra. I can't tell you how many people get super excited about like the idea of like, oh, that's what you're talking like. Well, hold on here. Let's deconstruct this. Like the idea of Kama Sutra is it's a tantric practice, and tantric is literally it just means to weave, to string
Mhm.
together, and it's that idea of being in a practice where either on I know in a lot of the that type of magic field, I think there's left hand magic and or I'm sorry, there's left hand path and right hand path, where left hand is the actual physical union of two bodies coming together versus the right hand path, which is the kind of metaphorical union of divine energy between you and the divine.
Mhm.
And both aspects have to be addressed. Both aspects have to have attention paid to them, and can be used in different ways to kind of free that energy back out a little bit and kind of let that release happen for yourself.
As far as magic is concerned, I think the creative energy in what I see it and what I sense it is a very high energy of manifesting and creating.
Mhm,
And what I wish that this is talked more, especially with children in the school, not so much the physical aspect of it, but also the energy aspect of it.
mhm,
Because it is part of their being, it's part of our being. And if you get I know that when I get stuck of trying to find a solution to something, I take time. For me, I use meditation as a tool,
mhm.
to bring the energy back. And I literally see myself, in my third eye. And as an energy healer, I know how I can go in there and I can start doing the cleansing and start doing the energizing. I know some people in the audience may not know how to do that or have not have taken a workshop. So what would be, besides going to see a masseuse, is there any other practices?
Not that kind of masseuse.
Not that kind of masseuse. No.
Um, definitely, there are definitely things, and we're gonna walk this line very delicately here because I don't want to say anything that, of course, comes off in
Yeah.
any sort of way inappropriate or wildly, untoward. Um, there are gobs and gobs and gobs of magic theory practices out there that deal with raising energy in order to manifest something, in order to accomplish that goal. Because again, magic, the idea of magic is literally just you consciously working with the energy around you to affect change. And when you consciously choose to change that energy or direct that energy in a certain way, that's working of magic. That's the actual crafting part. And so where sexual magic can kind of come in is you get to use the body's natural energy. Um, I feel like we would be allowed to say the word orgasm on this, but the world gets we'll call it the metaphorical big O. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it can be there are ways to raise your magic through the act of sexual touch and self touch. And it is in that raising of energy. This is no different than um, in yoga, for example. I want to say it's called the Kundalini breath. It's the breath of fire,
Mm-hmm.
where they breathe in so like at a rhythmic round because they're raising their body's energy. They're raising that level of energy around you. Okay, well, self touch and self massage can do the same thing. It's that idea
Mm-hmm.
of bringing that energy forward and to the surface and to the kind of forefront of whatever it is you're doing. And then using your literal release to metaphorically release that energy out into the world to help that spell or that working or the manifestation that you're working on. So that raising of energy through self touch, self massage. So, yes, full body massage is awesome. I think it's a great way to reground yourself in your own body. Because in order to do any sort of functional good magic, you need to be present. You have to be here. Because it's obviously not going to have any sort of benefit if you're trying to do some sort of working and you're busy thinking about the shopping list and, oh yeah, I got to pick up little Joey after soccer practice, and you have to be present. So things like physical touch, things engaging all five of your senses, ground you in your body. And what sexual healing does is it just says, okay, well, what if you did that and you did that in an intimate way to yourself? What if you did
Mm-hmm.
let yourself do what felt good in whatever aspect that is? Because what feels good for one body is not necessarily what's going to feel good for another body. And with as any other type of expression out there, kind of like any sort of creative expression that we have with artists and stuff, just because in mainstream media somebody says, oh, well, you're meant to like this, this is meant to be something you enjoy, it doesn't necessarily have to be something you enjoy. You have to discover that for yourself. um, I encourage a lot of people when they start out in the idea of wanting to use sexual energy in their practice and wanting to use sex magic in their practice, um, get their intention clear. What are you using it for? Are you using it because you want to tap into that part of yourself and you want to be more self aware? Are you using it because you're trying to become more connected with that sacral part of your body and work with that energy flow there? Are you doing it to please somebody else? So make sure your intention is definitely on board with what it is you're trying to do. Um, but then it comes down to just what feels good to you. And too often we don't give ourselves permission to figure out what feels good for us. Because raising of energy is going to look different across every practitioner. Much like um, anytime you do any sort of group ritual, group practice, coven work, everyone is experiencing that energy and that divine differently. So your sexual sensations are going to be exactly the same. It's no different than the taste buds in your mouth. Everybody tastes things roughly the same, but some
Mm-hmm.
people may really, really enjoy that bitter tartness of a cherry. Some people think like that's the worst thing in my mouth. I hate it. Awful. There are some people,
Mm-hmm.
the earthiness of dark chocolate or matcha. Um, some people that love spice, capsaicin. Your sexuality and your sexual expression, what feels good to you is like your taste bud. So you have to define your taste buds. What feels good? What doesn't feel good? Um, there are several different practices I've seen where the manifestation of that energy that you get from self touch, from self massage, um, can then be used as the conduit for which you do the working. I see a lot of witches out there who ideally you're doing this with the consent of the person, because anything you do with another person, we're doing with consent. Consent is a conscious choice. Um, Using the act of sex and orgasms together to manifest things. Um,
Mhm.
a couple that they were desperately trying to find a house, and that's what they started to try to manifest. So every time that they were intimate with each other, whenever one of them got to the actual, literal big O, it was a conscious wish of, I'm sending this energy out into the world because we are manifesting a house for ourselves. And it worked, because then a month and a half later, I think I saw their post on social media, and they're like, we just closed on our dream house. I'm like how fabulous it is that two practitioners can come together, both
Mhm.
experiencing the sensations and the feelings of sex and intimacy and energy work together, raising that energy together, and then both consciously making the choice to send it out into the universe. Like that
Wow.
itself is a beautiful, that's creation. It's beautiful. It's fantastic.
Mm. Mhm.
So yeah, sexual energy can be a solo individual practice, or it can be a practice that you do with other people. Which is where we do kind of get into some of the harmful or unbalanced energy transactions with people. Um, because sex in and of itself is a transaction. You are energetically transacting parts of your
Mhm.
with that person. Um, and it's creating ties, even if you're experiencing something that is not meant to be kind of long term, or this isn't your forever person. Um, the ties that we create with sexual encounters can be extremely, extremely difficult to cut and get rid of. Those are some
Mhm.
potent, potent ropes that can tie parts of us down. And kind of like how we talked earlier about, you know, things in past lives happening to us that we're still feeling the effects of, things that have happened to you with previous partners years and years and years ago that you may think like, oh yeah, that's fine. I know, I was a kid, whatever. If you haven't addressed that energetic tie, if you haven't addressed that aspect of it, that's still affecting you today. That's still something that's consciously impacting the you of today, even though it's not something that you think really about at all. So using sex energy with other people, I always encourage people, you have to be very clear and concise about what you're doing. Both of you have to be able to talk about openly, hey, this is what I'm using this for. This is what I'm trying to do this for. This is what physical touch means to me. This is what intimacy means to me. You have to be willing to have those conversations with each other, because it can be extremely detrimental if you've got two people who think they're working towards the same goal, but realize that they're not on the same page at all. That just becomes a
Mm.
massive energetic mess that feels sticky and gross. Um, and actually, I found myself in a situation like that. I wanted to be able to share a little bit about energetically some of the things that I have done and how they impacted me,
Mm.
to kind of give people the idea of like, hey, this is what we mean when we're talking about like sexual energy. Um,
Okay.
I took up with a partner who very big into divine feminine worship, very big into the idea that um, the body is a vessel for that divine energy, and it was this partner's prerogative to attempt to feed that part of me, or nourish that part of me and worship that part of me as an act of exaltation, as an act of um, just joy and intimacy.
Mhm.
We talked a little bit about possibly doing more tantric things together, more energy raising together, things like, again, co-body touching, things like eye gazing and things like that, things that drive the intimacy between two bodies up a couple levels to be able to start really feeling that energy between the two of you. um, this partner, though, had a problem with boundaries. Even though I had said that that would be something like, oh yeah, we can talk about possible encounters where maybe we actually physically use the energy that we're creating together during the physical intimate act of sex to manifest something together. Um, this was a partner that kept trying to sneak that in
Mm.
during intimate acts and kept reopening the topic of, wanting, oh, say this with me, chant this with me, let's do this. And being in what is one of the most intimate and vulnerable moments you can be in during sex, and then having somebody push those boundaries, even if it's not a boundary that, from a physical standpoint, like, I wasn't in physical danger, so that's okay. Like, I know we always assume if a boundary is broken,
Mhm.
it's absolutely, like, the worst detrimental, but, like, it was a boundary that was breaking. But because I was not being as responsible as I should have been for my own energy,
Mhm.
I thought I was stronger than that, and I thought, "Well, I can just steamroll over this and I'll be fine. What he's doing around me won't affect me." Um, Come to find out that it felt like, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember those little buckets of silly putty that kids used to get? Like the little slime thing,
Yes.
all sticky
Yes.
and gross. Ugh.
Yes.
And if they dropped it on the carpet, it picked up hair and everything.
Mhm.
Energetically, that's what it felt like. It felt like there was just this sticky web of goo
Mhm.
that was left between us. And I realized a little bit later on during, you know, my encounters with this person that this person was not using sex magic and sexual healing in a responsible way because they were using it to try to take some of that sticky, gooey stuff and like fill holes in themselves energetically and emotionally.
Mhm. Mhm.
Where I had thought we were coming to the table together to mutually raise energy to do a goal together or something like that. Like this person was using it for whatever it is they need to use for, which is fine. But because that conversation was not had beforehand, we were left with energetically this very sticky, gross mess where
Mhm.
one person was energetically trying to put almost more tethers on me. That was one of the few times I've actually done a couple like cord cuttings for myself where I've had to like consciously cut that energy off of like, actually, no, I don't want this in me. I don't want this tapping into me. This is not an energy well I want to be associated with because it's not going to benefit me in the ways that it should. Even though this person wasn't doing anything malicious. And I think that's something that a lot of people fail to realize, especially with um, intimate acts and things like that. A lot of times we will end up getting hurt and the other person will not realize they have hurt us.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, granted, there are situations where absolutely somebody was intending to hurt you. There are situations where
Mhm.
somebody just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
They didn't pay you the consideration. And now you have to energetically deal with the hurt of that. You have to deal with the sticky mess of that. Um, so when you practice sex magic with another person, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to them as a practitioner to have very upfront, blunt conversations about here is what I am doing. Here is what I am using this energy. This is no different than like a financial investment. Like Maria, if you and I were going to go in, we're each going to put money in on this financial investment. You have a right to know what I'm going to go spend our money on. I
Mhm.
have a right to know what you're going to go spend it on. And it's no different with sexual energy. You have to be able to have those conversations up front about what it is you would like out of this and what ultimately your partner is going to be using this for, because that's going to lead to whether or not you decide, is this really a person I want to be energetically bound with in that regard?
Yeah, and that's so true because it is underlining like you're together, but it just a multi-dimensional respect is also the line, the underlining line is having that communication basically
Mhm.
and respecting. Resp- it's like the respect is there but having really consciously understanding what that person is saying to you.
It's consideration. You have to
Yeah.
actually consider the consequences of your actions, and those consequences are good and bad, but you have to understand the consequences of your potential actions with yourself and with that person if you're choosing to engage in sex magic with another person.
It's really interesting that you said that you had to literally cut cords.
Mhm.
That is the one tool that I do use when someone comes to me and I notice that, especially if a person has gone through a breakup and they come to me, I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
I said, well, let's try this, and I go into the aspect of getting their chakras and their energy field prepared, and then I go ahead and cut cords. I don't care where the cords is coming from. I don't care what this person is doing or trying to do with this person. All I know is I need to cut this cord from whoever,
Mhm.
you know. But interesting that you said that, because that is one aspect that I do use when I notice that. I mean, I cut cords. Basically, I have used it in my practice enough that I just cut cords,
Mhm.
because we are energetic beings
Mhm.
and we do connect at an
Yes.
energy level. And especially when you have gone through a relationship with someone and then for some reason or another that relationship does not work out.
Mhm. Yeah.
So cutting the cords is one of the things. It's interesting that you said that. I was like, oh, she cut cords. Great.
Mhm. Yeah, because like I said, it's we are energetic beings, and
Mhm.
the idea of using sexual energy in your magic working is realizing that you're going to kind of strip the parts of you away that numb you from the energetic world around us. Media influences and your ego and distractions and um, thought patterns and things like that. And engaging in energy work almost like you'd be engaging with like a live wire without rubber wrappings around it. It can be extremely potent, and it can be an amazing source of creative energy, of healing energy, of just ecstatic, joyful, celebratory energy. It can also,
Mhm.
yeah, it can get very messy if it's not handled well. It can get
Oh
sticky
yeah.
and you can get burnt and hurt with that. Um, and that I feel like those hurts are so important to address because it's a hurt that almost is always gained when we're at our most vulnerable, when we're at our most intimately vulnerable, both biologically, mentally, emotionally, all of the aspects. Um, so you have to take care of those hurts. You have to be willing to go slow. Another thing I see with a lot of people whenever they want to kind of rediscover themselves after a breakup or kind of realize, like, sexually they're feeling stagnant or stuck and they don't know what to do with themselves. Um, we actually, I talked to a lot of them about what I basically called bed death. You have to have a funeral in your head. So here, and I usually make them work through some sort of ritual, however you like to do your magic. If you're a candle worker, if you're a crystal worker, if you're, I don't know, energy, if you need to draw circles and sigils for yourself, however you best feel connected with your magic, that's the path you're going to use. And you can adopt it to whichever path works best for you. But the idea is mourning the death of what used to feel good with this person,
Mhm.
because that has to be separated from what feels good for just me. And it requires restudy, it requires that reset. And that's a lot of work. That's the other thing that a lot of people don't. It's not that they don't recognize, I don't think, but they don't think they pay it enough credit. When you decide to actually consciously heal parts of yourself that need work, that's exhausting work.
Mhm.
Like it takes a lot out of you to consciously be aware of those parts of yourself that need care and tenderness. And be willing to kind of pick at those parts again and again and examine where it hurts and try to figure out, okay, how do I make it less painful for me? How do I work through that? Um, but yeah, doing bed death. And I let Um, basically, the loose structure of the ritual is this, and then I kind of work with people to adapt it to whichever aspects of magic that they like to work with. Um, you are going to energetically let the sexual fantasy and the idea of that pleasure that was there, you're going to mourn it. You're going to say it once was. There were some beautiful parts to it. There were some amazing parts to it. It's like the pretty pictures at a funeral. You're looking at all these great fond memories. Absolutely cherish them, love them, and then say, okay, I have to now put this to bed. I have to now put this in the ground because you, as an energetic being, now have to discover what feels good for just you. And that's when you can start in on. I like to you can do column lists, you can do the self touch exercises, you can do self massage exercises, uh, those types of things to start to rediscover what actually feels good to you versus what felt good because you were doing it with another person and you knew that they enjoyed it. So you enjoyed it because they were enjoying, which is completely valid. It is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely valid to do things for a partner because you know they enjoy them with you. But you have to be conscious of the fact that, is that something I'm really enjoying or am I enjoying it for you? And that's the start for a lot of sex magic and a lot of sexual healing is you have to know what feels good for you because that's how you are going to raise genuine, honest, potent energy to be able to either, manifest out, release it out, use it as a creative outlet. You have to be raising from a genuine place because when you're raising it from that disingenuine place, it's I don't know, it's like buying an off brand of a really nice product and then being disappointed when
Mm-hmm.
it fell apart. You're like, "Oh, like I saw this
Mm-hmm.
amazing product and then I went online and found a really cheap version of it and I'm disappointed because it doesn't look like, the name." Well, yeah, of course it doesn't look like the name
Mm-hmm.
brand. You invested less in the product and the product is you. So you have to be
Yeah.
willing to invest in what you like. Using tarot and oracle cards, especially ones that are Um, I have a pleasure oracle, I have an emerald psyche, I have an erotic tarot deck, I have a romantic Lenormand deck. There are decks of cards, which are one of the tools I like to use because I enjoy working with cards, um, as ways to meditate and find focal points in those energies. There are lots of decks that I recommend that the daily meditations are just little moments of mindfulness, little moments of, what can I do to bring myself back in tune with the rest of me? Um, Things like, yeah, soft touch, discover meandering anticipatory pleasure. And it walks you through little action steps of just here's something you could try at home to become aware of this aspect of yourself. I've also used the tarot cards as archetypes to embody certain aspects of sexual energy and power to be able to kind of manifest in that certain direction if I'm raising energy or working with energy um, for a specific type of purpose versus um, like if I, for example, say I was wanting to manifest something, grow something new in my life, I might pull from the deck, the Empress card. She's
Mm-hmm.
very beautiful and she is maternal and she is all powerful in that encompassing feminine energy. If I want to work through something that is maybe a little bit spiritually hard for me. Maybe it's coming from a little bit more of a shadow place. I might reach for, the high priestess. I might reach for temperance. I might reach for the cards that allow me to alchemize that energy a little bit more. So I love using tarot cards and oracle cards as a way to break people into exploring their own sexual energy because it's extremely approachable. It's a deck of cards. They're easy to touch, they're easy to read. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
go as far as, again, just giving you little like mini homework assignments. Some of them you can take as almost a meditative exercise for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing way to give yourself a physical tool so that way you can start working. And that's what sharpens the energetic tool.
Have you used any kind of essential oils? because sometimes the scent of like I love this the scent of jasmine.
Mhm.
Have you used that to just raise the vibration? You know,
I
when you yeah, just raise the vibration and just being one with yourself basically. And you can have you have used it when you are working with any of your cards?
Yeah, I've definitely used it to add to my practice. I think one of the key pillars of sexual healing and sexual magic is its senses. It's sensual. That's what when
Mm-hmm.
we say the word sensual, we mean
Mm-hmm.
engaging of the senses. And if we take
Mm-hmm.
our big top 5 here, when you take time to engage your senses using, anointing oils or essential oils, um, there's that immediate moment of I'm smelling this, I'm here in this moment. Um, doing any sort of food ritual where you actually have food or drink or something that you can taste during, using the different types of candles or incense, some sort of visual representation in front of you, um, wearing specific clothing, wearing specific um, robes and things like that. I know there's a little bit of like stigma around the idea of having like, oh, this is just the clothing I wear for this, but like it really does change your ability to do energy work. If I'm going to do something energetically that I'm trying to release, I'm not going to come to a ritual or my altar with really tight constrictive clothing that makes me feel like I can't move, because that's
Mm-hmm.
the opposite energy I want to embody. So engaging all of your senses, using those essential oils with a smell that makes you feel calm, a smell that makes you feel centered. There are smells that make you feel awake, alert, ready to go. Um, I have, for example, I use specific soaps for either morning or evening
Mm-hmm.
showers,
Mm-hmm.
because I have a lemon soap I like to use in the morning because that wakes me up. It's energetic, it's bright, it's citrusy. It livens my skin back up after being asleep all night. And then in the
Mm-hmm.
evenings, I like lavenders. I want my energy to chill. I want it to everyone settle back down. We're going to have to transition to sleep here. So using all of your senses in your magic work is a great way to keep yourself grounded in the moment. And that's what mindfulness is. I feel like mindfulness gets a lot of it gets talked up to be this like big conflict, difficult thing to understand. But like mindfulness is just being here right now, nowhere else.
Yeah,
It's
being
you're not
present
thinking you're
in the
doing
now.
anything else other than right now.
Yeah, being present in the
So
now. And a lot of people don't get that, especially when it's hard for them to quiet the mind,
mm,
the little monkey talk up in the mind. It takes quite a bit of practice, but you can take control of it.
yes. Um, one of the ways I have found that it's been very beneficial, because again, sexual energy and sex magic is something that is inherently personal, and it's sensational. You are supposed to be engaging in all these senses. Cutting off one of those senses. Try doing something very simple for yourself with a blindfold.
Hmm.
It doesn't even have to be like an extremely intimate. It literally can just be I'm going to, rub lotion, all over myself. Put a blindfold on. Remove your sense of sight. Because when you don't have that visual like stimulation, suddenly you have to rely on your other senses, and that brings you back to the body. That brings you back into the present moment. Um, putting earbuds in, putting headphones in during meditations or during self massages and things like that. It's taking out the stimulus of the world around you using noise machines. When we rob ourselves of at least one of our senses, the other senses inherently kind of come up a little bit more because they're trying to compensate for the lack of whatever sense it is you've done. And vice versa,
Hmm.
when you engage those senses with, with oils, with candles and things like that, with different textures, those different sensations keep the mind and the body on the same page together at the same time, because you're consciously aware of the physical things I'm touching, the sense I'm smelling, the sensation of, skin, fabric, whatever. That level of mindfulness is so necessary for any sort of magic work, obviously. But yeah, it's hard to get, like you said, that it's hard to get the monkey in there to stop talking.
Oh yeah.
Mine has the
But
little
it
cymbals that he claps a whole lot and, like,
I had a client who did this, and I was just saying it just for saying it. I did not realize she took it literally. She actually created an altar for herself. And what she did is she had different age pictures of herself, and she put like dry rose petals all over it. And she had made like little heart symbols and put it all over in this altar that she created for herself. It was so much fun. I just suggested it, and I said, just, I go, just do something fun. I go, why don't you do this? I
Mhm.
did not realize she was going to do it literally. And
Uh-huh.
she did. And I said, how was that? And because she came back and she was going, it was great, because I took out pictures of when I was little, and I was having a great time, and I had, like, like one of them was a picture of her when she was with a family vacation, and she was on the beach, and it was a picture of her and her, I guess, another sibling or a cousin. They were building a castle. And she goes, that was a lot of joy. I remember that. And so she put it on this altar for herself.
Mhm.
And she said, every day when I pass by it, it just reminds me. Even if she go, when I come home during the day and I had a bad day, um, I just look at that altar.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I didn't realize you were going to take this suggestion literally, but that is good.
Yeah. Well, and
you
that's
know?
the thing with magic is that, any sort of craft work that you do, inevitably every book has their own spin or version of the types of tools you can physically use, the different altar tools and things like that. Um, they have some significance for a reason, though. One, they do exactly like you said, your client was able to see every day
Hmm.
this representation of joy, of
Yeah.
ecstatic pleasure that she got to experience, and putting it in a place of reverence, of honor like that, physically in front of her, gave her brain a moment to go, "Oh, yeah, I'm visually seeing that. Remember how good that felt?"
Yeah.
It's those little visual tricks. So altar tools are really important, and I know there's some interesting divisions here and there about, like, whether or not you have to use certain things to make certain magics work. And that's, of course, up to the practitioner. That's up to you. It's your relationship with your deity.
Hmm.
But using those physical tools not only keeps you mindful, but you're also then relying on the inherent energy and vibration of that object, of that type of tool, of that material to lend itself to certain types of working. Um, for example, I have for my lovely sexuality and sensuality and relationship readings, I have a cute little bag of gemstone penises and little gemstone vulvas, and they're lovely, and I adore them all. And I use them as part of the divination practice. I have made the distinction in because I usually just tell my clients, you pick up a big old handful of those cute little dicks and just rub them around in your hand. We'll throw them out. So it's up to them which ones they gravitate towards or which ones they kind of like will pick up. There's a
Hmm.
different energy in the different types of stones that they throw. And it's
Mm.
reflective
Hmm.
of their relationship with what the big divine masculine energy in their life. Um, Usually in readings I refer to it as the dick. Um, and again, a very broad sense of the word. Uh, but there's a difference between the visual representations of the stones because there are some readings I found where just based on the color of the stones that this person's working with or the ones that I'm seeing there, it's, oh, well, yeah, they may have a lot more phallic symbols and stuff like that showing up in their pelvic bowl, meaning that
Hmm.
their energy pathway is kind of a little bit stuck on, you know, the phallic masculine side more than on the feminine side. But all of these stones are clear. They're the crystal quartz, they're the amethysts, they're the rose quartz. Okay, so you have a healthy understanding of the divine masculine. You're just kind of hung up on it. Versus sometimes when clients will throw the really dark stones, the clouded ones, the onyxes, um, violets, the sodalites, and things like that, the darker stones that show kind of that tainted relationship to the masculine energy, or that kind of phallic energy in their life. And that interplay has been a really amazing to discover with people, because that wasn't something I intentionally, when I was gathering supplies and kind of creating this practice for myself, for clients, that was not an aspect I had considered. But it was an aspect that, upon working with so many clients and noticing it finally, that, oh, people are picking up. And it also gets a little bit fun, because I do have really fun little size differences. Ones I have little itty bitty teeny tiny ones, and then I have big ones. Um, I've even noticed differences in readings if somebody manages to grab the bigger ones or the smaller ones, and how that actually impacts the reading, and what it is that representation of their
Hmm.
relationship to the divine masculine energy and the phallic energy in the world. Um, it's been an amazing little development in my practice that I'm really grateful that I got to be a part of without necessarily planning for. Just kind of realizing, like, oh, this is what you guys are doing. Okay, like my little gemstone dicks are working with me here now. Um,
Well, with any type of divination tool, you do build a relationship with it, and sometimes it does evolve. The energy of the divination tool will evolve,
yeah.
and I think that's just so great. Um, it's you also notice that when others are really enjoying what you do,
Mhm.
because it just gives them a little bit more clarity, and it's you didn't intend it that way, but
Yeah,
it's
those
like, no.
the tools took a life of their own. The tools took a
Yeah.
life of their own, and they respond to the energy I use to work with them, with the clients that work with them. And this is where we're going to get a little bit more X-rated again on this topic of tools. The number of times I have had to look at a client, complete stranger, with all the love and respect and reverence in my heart, and ask them, when was the last time you bought a personal massage toy? Oh, it's been like forever. Okay. Well, much like any other muscle group, if you're going to work it out, you have to have the proper tools for it. You have to develop quality relationships with objects of intimacy. And they don't even have to be like, adult massagers. It can be objects of intimacy. This is a, pajama set I like to put on because of how silky and soft it is, and how it feels against my skin. It's, oh, if I'm going to do this type of magic, I like to use specifically this oil or this lotion with this scent, because I know this is the scent that connects me most to this type of energy. And it's finding tools that you can kind of designate as sacred tools for just your sexual practice. Because I think that distinction gives it a level of autonomy, but it also gives your energy kind of, again, that moment of, oh, I'm walking by my altar and I'm seeing this picture and the rose petal
Hmm.
showing how much I loved this. And
Hmm.
all of my senses are going, oh yeah, these are things we associate with love, with happiness, with joy, with pleasure. This was exciting. And your body re-releases all of those fun chemicals from a psychological standpoint. And then your energetic body goes, ooh, we feel good all of a sudden. Why do we feel good? That interplay between psychology and magic, I think it's always been amazing to have happen, and kind of get yourself in a place where you can work with your tools, and you can designate certain items to just be for specific types of practices.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Because as practitioners, with our divination too, we do take a little bit of care. So if you have those tools, you should also take care of them too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, obviously, like,
Yeah.
from a biological standpoint, please be good to yourself.
Yes.
You are a biological being. So be
Yes.
good, use clean things, take showers.
Hmm.
But even from an energy standpoint,
Hmm.
um, I've had I've had people I've worked with before that we've done actual energetic cleansings of their adult massage toys to get rid of the energetic mark of previous relationships.
Yeah.
or energetic associations with previous work. I remember the witch I was talking to about it, she was such a goofy little girl. Like she was just a very bubbly, happy, mousy type person. And when I was explaining this to her, and she was like, "Oh, I just feel like it's I reach for this thing, and it's something I used to really enjoy doing, and it used to really, but now I just every time I touch it, da, da, da." I was like, "Well, get a new one." She was like, "I can't afford a new one." I was like, "Okay, well then let's reset that one." I was like, when you do any sort of magical working on an altar, there's almost always a call for cleansing, using smoke, using fire, using a shower to cleanse your body, wash your body. I was like, you can do that with this object. You can do that with this tool and kind of energetically give it that exact cut. I was like, so I walked her through. I was like, yeah, it's no different than any other spell that you would try to manifest. Call your corners, set your corners, talk to your altar, get your deities present, get everybody set up, and then use that as the, hey, I'm energetically like wiping the slate here on this item. This tool needs reset because that tool again
Mhm.
wants to take on a life of an energy of its own, and the more you work with it, the more it kind of feeds back into how it likes to be worked with. And
Mhm.
and I found that again, adult toy tools and things like that are no different than magic tools in that regard. They take on a life of their own. They take on an energy of their own. You have to take care of them. Otherwise, it's like I'm trying to cut a beautiful steak with a butter knife. It's dull. Like yeah, I'll eventually get the job done. It's not going to be good.
Yep. Yep. Um, I have I have tools in the middle of a healing. And it's not because I didn't take care of them. It's not because I didn't cleanse them. I always cleanse all of my crystal wands after I'm done doing a healing with someone.
Mhm.
Um, but this is how powerful these tools can be for you. When I have done a healing and I have lost clear water healing wands, and I was doing a distant healing and it broke in half in the middle of a healing. That particular tool took all of whatever that was I was taking out of that person, and it was a distant healing, and
Mhm.
it couldn't take anymore. So I had to take that tool, put it aside, and I had to bring another wand in to finish the healing.
Yeah.
And I treat my tools with a great deal of sacredness. So I took that, the broken, I washed it, I cleansed it, I put it in a bag, I put some dirt in it, you know, and I had a friend who was, she does a lot of fire work at this one particular area, and I said, "Can you please take this and please put it back into the earth in that pond? There's a pond where people put, and because that tool did work for me and it helped my client. It
Mhm.
just couldn't take anymore. It took
Yeah.
all that it could and then it broke. Tools are so powerful, you know. Um, I'm pretty sure Alexa, you cleanse your card after a reading or after the day is gone,
Absolutely.
is done.
And
You
I've
have
I've
to,
had
you
readings
know.
where I've had readings where I've had particularly emotionally difficult or painful readings, especially since again, like I talk a lot with people about sex and sexuality in their relationships. Like I get a very up close and intimate personal look into people's lives. And it's not something I take for granted. It's something that I take with a lot of reverence and a lot of um, respect with that is I'm getting this very deeply emotional, sometimes very painful glimpse into your life. And I have had that energy stick on decks of cards before where there's only been a few times where, I've gotten done with that client and I've taken that deck completely off the table. Like we're not he's done for the day actually. Because
Hmm.
the energy associated with it, or I've had decks where if the reading was again particularly emotional or heavy, um, I might go through a cleansing and I come back the next day or to read or something and I'm using the same decks and it's throwing out the same cards, regardless of how many times. It's that deck's way of going, I'm still stuck here. Stop. I'm still stop.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, okay, you're right. You're right. I have to respect the tool. And I wish people would treat themselves like that. I wish people would treat themselves like instruments and tools.
Hmm.
Um,
There's
You
the
can't.
sacredness of that person.
Mhm,
They have to see themselves as a sacred being.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hard part with sex and sexuality is that it's gotten such
Mm-hmm.
a stigma of being this
Mm-hmm.
shameful, wrong thing,
Yes.
and pleasure has been labeled as something bad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't no, you should suffer for things, and you should be constantly, abstaining from things, and it's like, you're denying yourself something that inherently brings you good. It feels good. Your body's releasing chemicals that are nice. Your energy is flowing freely. These are all good things, but we have such a weird stigma about shamelessly enjoying things we enjoy. This is what you get when you let me talk about sex. I don't
This.
shut up. You have to, like, set a timer next time or, like, I don't know.
This is what, yeah, well, I'm the same way when I'm talking about energy.
Like, it's a topic I am very passionate about. I take a lot of pride in the fact that, again, I get very personal, intimate looks into people's lives, and I get the
Hmm.
opportunity to use my gifts and my abilities to provide them with some source of clarity or hope or, closure on certain things. Like that, I almost all of my readings that deal with anybody as far as, like, sexual healing and sex, um, I end up thanking my client, like, "Thank you for letting me read for you, because I got to see such an intimate part of you, and I don't take that
Hmm.
for granted." That is a amazing, um, level of humbleness of that I'm how amazing is it that people trust me enough with this part of themselves?
Hmm. Yeah, that is, as practitioners, we all have different talents, and I I am always humbled when person comes to me for healing, because a lot of people don't realize it is that energy is it's it's beyond the body, and it's very, very personal. And sometimes, doing a healing, I will get messages, and I also tap into that personal of their
Mhm,
lives. And I'm very honored and humbled that they picked me to do that for them. And I know that a lot of us, we are very, grateful of our clients that comes to us, you
mhm,
know, and we do, if there's something that is beyond my approach or is beyond my knowledge, I direct them where to go.
mhm.
Um, I've always said, Alexa, relationship, go to her. Just, I can give you a little bit of what I'm getting, but she really do a deep dive into it. So go to
And
her.
I love that. I like the ecosystem we've built at Goddess Elite as far as, like, the different practitioners and being able to, like, yeah, if we do meet clients, we're like, that's not really my thing. However, allow me to point you to the person I know that will do that better." 'Cause I do. I've had people come in and ask for, like, "Oh, do you do healings?" I'm like, "Of like the I'll pour you a cup of tea and tell you it's okay healing, but if you want some energy." So Maria's next door, you're gonna wanna sign up for that. We we have a good ecosystem of practitioners, I think, at Goddess Elite that lets us
Yes,
be able to service our community at large very well.
yes. And that's the one thing that's neat, because everyone comes from a very diverse, um, you know, we specialize in what we specialize in. And it's up to the clients to say who is pulling me, or if that person is pulling me and that is not our expertise, we can direct you. Go to
Yeah,
Alexa, relationship, deep dive, go right there.
we're happy to, like, rec for each other all the time because, like I said, we have very amazing practitioners that we get to work
Yes,
alongside.
yes. Um, Sometimes we don't see each other because we have all different schedules. Alexa, you're going to be at Goddess Elite the last Saturday of each month.
I am. So my 2026, I am on schedule for the last Saturday of every month. Um,
Okay. You can go on the website and you can book your sessions with Alexa or with I. or any other practitioners that we have there. Um, if you don't really know who to go to, please give Goddess a call. The staff is wonderful. They pretty much have a knowledge of what we do, and just call them and say, what it is that you're looking for, or what would the best recommendation for whatever area, and they will direct you to any one of us there. It's hard. It's hard for them to keep up with who's going to be here. They always have to look at the calendar because everyone's schedule is different. There are some of us. There are fixtures. Like I said, I'm the second and third Saturday, but there's some of us. They're not fixtures. So they may be there 1 month. They may be not there the next month because they have other obligation, other places to go to. So
That's why the psychic fairs are so fun.
but
It gives you guys as clients an
yeah.
opportunity, practitioners, see new people, see what other things our colleagues are doing for clients.
And it's actually fun for us too because we get to see everyone in one roof. We get to see each other that we haven't seen in a month or two, or so many months have gone by. But yeah, it's fun for us too. Unfortunately, we do get busy and we don't have time to chit chat and catch up. But we love what we do, and it's fun. It really is. It's fun, and we are very honored that our clients come to see us. So
Great.
with that, we are going to bid you good night. Thank you, Alexa.
Thank you, Maria.
And
I really enjoy these conversations we've gotten to have over the last couple of weeks together. Like, it's gotten me, like I said, we don't get to see each other that much, so this is a nice,
No.
some good one-on-one FaceTime I have with you. So I love that. All right, everyone, well, enjoy the rest of your evening and stay warm.
Yes. Good night. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Healer's Corner podcast. Join us again soon.